Rob, where did Mr. Riddle go? Did we see where he
He's
went?
here back in the back corner, back row. Second.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I didn't
back
s-
left.
I didn't see him
Blue
move his
shirt.
hair. All right. Whenever we're ready, you tell me. You can see Chelsea over that kettle. We're good to go? All right, I'm going to call the Ravenna City Council Planning Committee meeting to order at 6 o'clock. The first item I have on my agenda is a presentation by Tom Riddle regarding the Seth Thomas clock. Mr. Riddle, if you'd like to come up and join us.
That's mine.
Yep, there you go.
I read this. I was inspired. I think this is great. I'm here to talk about one thing to consider for the new city hall. You're going to make a city hall. Should I use the microphone, or can you
Yes.
hear me?
Yeah, use the microphone,
Microphone
please.
preferred, yeah.
Okay. Hello, online. It's a new city hall. Whoops. Where's my mouse? Okay. So, small technical error here. We may have to. Why do these things only happen when you. Okay. So, people are going to come into the new city hall. They're going to be greeted with something. This town put up a picture of their old town. Does Ravenna need more old pictures for the new city hall? Maybe we've had enough. Does Ravenna need more television sets? Well, does Ravenna need another Riddle-Hearst? I doubt it. I think what Ravenna needs is the clock from the 1880 courthouse. And that's what I'm here to talk about. So I'm going to be the History Channel for about 10 minutes and give you the history of that clock. As, you know, kind of a just to let you know, our sister city of Newark, Ohio, for 100 years had a golf course. And it wasn't until the local historians came there and said, you don't have a golf course, you have a World Heritage Site. And that's what happened. In 2023, it became Ohio's only World Heritage Site, just because the historians explained to them what they had. So here we go. It's 1714. The British lose 2,000 sailors at sea. Big maritime disaster. Ships don't know where they are in the ocean. The British government in 1714, they passed the Longitude Act of 1714, and they opened it up to the whole world and said, anybody who can figure out a way for us to know where our ships are, you get what today would be about $5 million. 57 years later, a guy figured it out. He nailed it. And Parliament acknowledged he nailed it. And that guy was John Harrison. So he built the world's first chronometer, accurate timekeeping, in exactly 1773. So that solved that problem, but good. Fast forward, it's 1843. The British decide they will build the biggest clock tower in the world. The Royal Astronomer says, okay guys, the person who gets the contract to make that clock has got to give us a clock that's within, at the top of the hour, 1 second of Greenwich Mean Time. Big deal. He said, I want a chronometer on that clock tower, guys. The clock makers of the day, many of them said, forget that. You can't do it because the snow and the birds will be on the hands of that big clock that will go down through the movement, throw off the pendulum, and you can't keep good time. Makes perfect sense. Little did they know that there was a real nerdy guy that no one liked because he was kind of like Musk. Look at him, he even looks mean. But he was this mechanical genius. And he figured out how to do it. It took him 6 years in a lab. And just before the clock started ticking, he put this in the clock. This is the Denison escapement. This was the major horological breakthrough of the 19th century. And it would take a while to explain the genius of that, but what it did was it meant that no matter what happened to the hands, the pendulum would power the clock at the same rate and you wouldn't lose time. Big deal. So when Big Ben started ticking in 1859, the world for the first time had accurate public timekeeping. Okay, next page. Thank you very much. 13 years later, Denison never patents that escapement. Big deal. It spreads all over the world. It comes to the United States. At that time, clockmaking was a huge business. Every, house, they didn't have a radio, TV, have a clock. The Seth Thomas Clock Company, they're expanding. They bought a tower clock company that was headed by a guy named A.S. Hotchkiss. That guy was this incredible mechanical genius. And Seth Thomas thought so much of him, they put his name on every clock. He probably made about 150 clocks. His genius, that's Big Ben. That's the work of Big Ben. Those are the works. That's a movement of Big Ben. His genius was he could take that and put it in a box. So now you could put a tower clock in a box and ship it across the country. Every little town, church, could have its own tower clock. So they made catalogs, they shipped them around the country. This was in 1872. In 1876, it is the 100th anniversary of the United States. Big deal in Philadelphia. So what do? They buy a Seth Thomas clock and put it in there. Yes, it was like winning the contract to put the man on the moon. It was a big deal. They got it, and that clock is still ticking. It's been electrified, and the National Park Service won't let you up into the tower, but it is still there and ticking. So, 1882, it comes to Ravenna. The same escapement and the same pendulum that is in the clock at Westminster. It has to be 14 feet long. 14 feet long means that the swing is 2 seconds, exactly, and it's 300 pounds. Once you get that much momentum going, it stays moving. That's the big deal. So you virtually had, not virtually, you had the technology from the clock at Westminster coming right to Ravenna. It stays in that courthouse till 1960. 1960, the whole country says, out with the old, in with the new. Those old clocks were either discontinued or electrified or, like the courthouse, just sold as junk. So, 1973, big, immense effort in Ravenna, Ohio, to put that clock in a clock tower. So the whole town just came together and said, we're going to do this, guys. And they did. They put it up there. And, of course, big deal. And put it at the Portage County Historical Society. And if you read the fine print, they're open 6 hours a week. How many people have toured the Portage County Historical Society? Oh, that's something. How many people have entered the Kent City Hall? 1. You don't want to enter the Kent City Hall. It is depressing. It is an abomination. It's an architectural failure. It's a lesson to be learned for the city of Ravenna. Anyway, on with the show. They're open 6 hours a week. It's all volunteer. They have volunteers shuffling in and out of that society like crazy, and this gentleman can testify to that. There's no institutional memory. There just isn't. So when the people who installed that clock, when they died or they left, nobody had a clue as to what to... They had clues, but they were the wrong clues. So look at that. That's what happened to that clock by 2021. Rusted like crazy, dirt, dead flies. They put car motor oil on the clock. No, you don't do that. It stopped running. So Dick Whitmore, Andy Whitmore, Andy's back there, they got that clock out of the tower and they took it to Flex Storage on Cleveland Road, and they took that guy apart like crazy. And that's a cleaned up gear. Just polished it. That was the distributor, what takes the energy from the clock and puts it to the hands. That was the distributor in the old tower. There it is now. And no charge, free. The Ravenna flagpole, $250,000. This, nothing. Look at that. So a real wonderful thing. So they make the thing, and Andy, the tree guy, he lifts that thing up and he puts it on that platform, as you see right there, because they want to attach the pendulum and see if it actually works. And it does. So I said, okay, guys, let's put a white sheet up there and I'll make a movie about the clock. The movie is less than 2 minutes, and you're going to hear it now. You'll hear the clock ticking if you can listen closely. So that's 325 pounds, back and forth every 2 seconds. That is what's called a temperature compensated pendulum, so that the pendulum stays the same length at any temperature. They inherited that from the British. There is the top of the clock, and the Denison escapement is right there. That's the beating heart of that clock, the genius of tower clocks in the USA. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is how I imagine it would look in a lobby. I think people would come in and take pictures of the clock. They'd want their selfies. This would be a real attraction. That's what I think. I think it really would add a lot. That clock has a presence. It moves. Fans swirl, gears spin, weights go up and down. So it's, yeah. There's somebody else. Come in, get the picture taken. Let's do a selfie. So this, I think, is really how it could look. And Mr. Whitmore back there says he's happy to move the clock. If you got moving on this thing, Dick Whitmore would install it for free. He would think that was the most fun of his life. So other towns in the USA have made a clock their centerpiece. One of them is Lewistown, Maine. They call their clock the Treasure of Lewiston. And look at their clock. No. I mean, it's not nearly as historically, artistically, or mechanically significant as their Ravenna clock. Those guys out in California, bazillionaires, tech, whatever, in Santa Barbara, hundreds of thousands of dollars to repair their 1929 clock, and look at it. Sawed-off pendulum, they electrified it. No, we don't do that. That's not the real deal. The National Watch and Clock Museum, the best they have is a tiny little sawed-off clock. No, Ravenna has much better than that. And even the Smithsonian, look what they have. Nothing. I mean, look it up. So, you have a chance to put something in your city hall that maybe the whole, every horologer in the USA would rush to see. And it would, I think would just be magnificent. That's the story of the clock. The story of the Historical Society is they have no place to put it. It can't go back in that clock tower. They have a dream of getting $1 million and building a new clock tower. But even if they do, it's only open 6 hours a week. And it's an all-volunteer organization. Well, there you go. It's something to think about. Any questions?
Can Andy come up so everyone can see Andy? Do you mind standing up, Andy, since you had a big part of this, too?
hide in the back.
Andy's also a Ravenna graduate, 1990. I was fortunate enough to graduate with him, and I just want to say, both you, thank you. I mean, what an amazing thing you both did, and the teamwork and the care and the passion that all of you have shown is amazing. I'm super impressed, and I don't know, I'm all for it. I mean, I'm just one person, but I couldn't agree more that I think that would look absolutely beautiful in our city hall. But again, I don't know the whole process, and I know it's all a vote and everything else, but you guys did an amazing job, and thank you so much.
If memory serves, it does have 4 operating faces, and if we really wanted to, we could use the chime or the hourly bell for that
Absolutely.
as well.
Yeah, and there's a very nice sounding bell that's available. It has the most beautiful sound.
When you set it back up a few years ago with Mr. Riddle and Mr. Whitmore, how long did you run it, and did you actually get it to run for a long period of time to verify its accuracy, or did you just start it up enough to check the pendulum and see how it ran?
It has a spring inside it. So you crank it, and the spring can run it for about 7 minutes. We didn't have the facility to put the weights up because you need such a high ceiling. we just didn't have it. We couldn't. We put it up on that platform thinking, we're going to put the whole thing together, but we just didn't have the room up there. The ceiling, we hit the ceiling.
Okay,
We
so
literally
you
hit the
ran it for
ceiling.
7 minutes, but it ran well?
Absolutely. Dick
Okay.
Whitmore is convinced that it is 100% restored. Yeah.
Yeah, and there'd be a,
How high would a ceiling need to be?
So if you go to thomasriddle.net clock, there I list the specs.
The ceiling in the warehouse, 18 feet. I think you would need at least 20, comfortably, 20 to 22. The one polished kind of gear assembly that runs the hand, we didn't install that on the top, and that goes on the top of the platform.
The more ceiling you had, the better off you would be.
Two-story commercial construction would be very feasible for it to fit that.
Excellent. And the weights could go more or less not off-site, but way to the side because it's all dependent on pulleys. So you could get the weights out of the way. You wouldn't have to worry about them just hanging down and hitting somebody in the head if you wanted to. You could really put them to the side. Anything else?
So do you envision this clock facing outward so when people go by, they could see it from like the street? Like,
You could put a clock face on the street, but I'm convinced that people want to come in and just stare at those works. And
well, couldn't you do both though? Couldn't you
Yeah,
have
you-
have it facing outward but still have
absolutely.
the mechanisms available for people to watch and
Yeah.
marvel on the inside?
Yep, you could.
I don't think we'd be able to shorten the pendulum by any stretch without changing the character, the timekeeping,
Oh,
a
no,
lot of
you don't wanna
accuracy and
ch-
stuff like that.
yeah,
Like, that was talked about at the PCHS board, and we didn't want to do it then either.
Yeah.
But I believe we can also extend the top. It's a variable kind of a thing, so if you had a clock face that was higher from the actual.
Yeah,
like, the
absolutely.
time
Yeah.
works.
Yeah,
So we could go up, and I think you can extend out a bit too.
sports one dial of 18 feet or 4 dials of 15 feet or less. So you've got quite a bit of room there. You wouldn't want to dial 15 feet. I mean, you'd want to dial 3 feet. And it, just be beautiful. Well,
Go ahead. We have someone behind you that has a question.
yes.
Could it be electrically wound?
No. It was electrical wound when it was in the Historical Society, but what you want is a performance piece. You want people to come in and see that guy wind the clock.
Yeah.
It's an 8-day clock. If you can get the weights long enough, once a week. And that would just be fantastic, that'd be a real thing. Okay, we're gonna wind the clock. I've wound that clock, and it's not that bad. It's not that, yes, Andy.
If you picture the penny things that are at the zoo or whatever, it's very similar. It's not hard to crank. It cranks about the same size. And I think what Tom was saying is it'd be cool to, like as an 8-year-old, hey, come help wind the clock.
Right. No, I was thinking the same thing. I would like to wind the clock.
Special kind of crank. It's
Yeah.
real similar to the penny things. The same sound, same, enjoyment.
Go ahead.
Henry Ford Museum, I've never been there in many, many years, but some of the large gears and machines they have there, where you would have the pendulum part, it was actually recessed into the ground. They would have a large enclosure with a sort of a break around it, so that the pendulum would swing clear, but it would actually be a little bit down into the ground to give you some height things. It would still be all visible, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you would look down over a railing or,
And the Henry Ford Museum has I think it's a Seth Thomas, but you can't get up into the tower. You can't see it. And that would be the big thing about Ravenna. People could get right up there and see that Denison escapement and all of the gears. And it's kind of magical. Yeah, and you can, even tomorrow, you could go to Dick Whitmore's shop and see the clock on the floor, and he would wind it for you. You can see all the gears spinning. I mean, it's there's something very nice about it.
It's fascinating.
Like, if you enjoyed
Yeah.
Pee-wee Herman's breakfast machine, it's way more put together, but it's equally fascinating.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. Well, we absolutely appreciate you coming and sharing this. Good news is City Hall is not even, we're still planning, so it's a perfect time. I'm glad you didn't wait to come and talk to us about this. So we could consider, building this in.
And it's going to be a lot of arm wrestling and horse trading with the Historical Society. But I think they can be convinced that the best thing for them and the best thing for Ravenna is for that clock to be in the new City Hall.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions? All right. All right, next on my agenda is to enter into a contract with Triad Communications. This is the marketing for the levy, and I believe, Ron, you're here to share on this? Do you need set up, or are you just speaking? I'm just gonna talk. You're just gonna talk? Awesome. Okay.
That works. Can you bring my mouse?
I can bring your mouse. All right, I think most of you know who I am. I'm Ron Fields. I'm the administrative assistant for the police department. I was on this committee with Bob Finney, Chief Smallfield, several other people. I can't remember all the names offhand. Basically, we were trying to figure out, should we hire a marketing firm for the construction of the new City Hall Safety Complex? And if so, who should we hire, basically? Now, I want to preface this by saying, in the beginning, I was very much against the idea of hiring any kind of a marketing firm. My thought, and I'll put it bluntly, was, so we're going to spend $50,000 of taxpayer money to find out how we can get more taxpayer money. That was my thought. I have since changed that completely. After listening to Triad and the Impact Group's presentations, I became convinced fairly quickly that this was a worthwhile expense because it is too important for us to try to accomplish ourselves by the seat of our pants, since we're not necessarily marketing experts. So we met with them, and it was a very close tie between Triad and Impact Group as to which one we wanted to go with. We did look at a third party called Sky Nile Consulting, but we were able to rule them out fairly quickly, mostly because of their distance from Ravenna and their lack of expertise in the area. So based on interviews that we've conducted, the committee recommends that the city enter an agreement with Triad Marketing. The reasons for this, Triad has worked with RITA in the past, which we believe will be very useful in coordinating an income tax levy for us. Triad has taken an information data-based approach with a poll to collect perspectives from community stakeholders. This was not mentioned by the Impact Group. Triad approached this with a data-first mentality, find out what the people want, what matters to the people of Ravenna, and then be able to inform them appropriately. And most of you may be aware, some of you may not, as a city, we're not able to market in a sense of trying to persuade voters. We're not allowed to do that. We can present the facts of the matter to them. We can't say, please vote yes for a new city hall. We can tell them this is why we should, this is why we should. So Triad seems best able to accomplish that particular goal. They are equipped to handle an information-only marketing plan designed to inform citizens about what the levy will do and which problems it will solve. They have 31 years in business. They're based in Cuyahoga Falls, and government agencies comprise 34% of their client base, so they have a lot of experience in that realm. They have a 100% success rate for similar programs in Summit County. Their preliminary advice, when we picked their brains during the interviews, they thought that we should go for a successful spring vote rather than wait until November. And that made a lot of sense to us because in November they're expecting a plethora of anti-tax initiatives to be put on ballots. And I don't think that Ravenna wants to be in that mix. We want to try to get the income tax levy passed in the spring rather than try it in the spring, fail, learn from it, then go in the fall. By the fall, it might be too late for success. The estimated costs of a poll, according to their numbers, start from $13,000 to $16,000 based on the sample size, and the fee for the marketing would be between $2,000 and $4,000 monthly for campaign strategy and management, and that gets us to the approximately $50,000 that we would feel more comfortable spending for this marketing drive. So that's all I got right now. And questions, I'm happy to answer whatever I can.
Just piggyback on what Ron is saying. I exchanged emails with Triad this afternoon, and they were curious. They saw it advertised, and I told them, tune in. They might be watching us now. That possibly, if council wants to move this forward, possibly on the 22nd, they could introduce themselves, whether you want them in person or we can do it through a Teams meeting or something like that if you're interested in moving it forward. If you have direct questions. As Ron was saying, we have to be very careful that we don't step over the lines. Let me rephrase that. City council is responsible. City council has to be cognizant of not stepping over the lines and directing people how to vote. That's very important, as Ron said, that we have to be educated, and who is going to educate us on that other than a company such as this?
And I will add, there was a lot of moving parts that came to this decision for the group as far as the people that put their input in. I mean, this was not looked at lightly. Everyone involved in this certainly took their time and really put their thought into this. So it was not just, we weren't, they weren't just throwing darts at a wall. I mean, they really read the proposals and really looked into it to make sure what was going to be best for the city.
Their proposals, both Triad and Impact Group, their proposals were very professionally put together. They look great. They look like they knew what they were doing. Impact Group struck me as more of your typical PR firm that is out there to spin things in a good way. And I don't think that they would be able to really do that effectively with the constraints that we had. Triad seemed much more fact-based and data-based, which I think is exactly what we should do.
Ron, a couple questions. It said that Triads had a 100% success rate on similar programs. What's defined as a similar program? An income tax initiative, building a public building? What is it that they're 100% on?
One of them, they worked on a zoo levy for the Akron Zoo, and it passed. And there were a couple of others that they had provided as these exemplars. Stark County Board of Developmental Disabilities, they worked with them, and the Akron Summit County Public Library, all of those three to pass
Okay.
major levies.
Okay.
And they succeeded.
And-
Now, I believe those were property tax, though. they
Property.
were not income tax.
And then a question on the $50,000. Point number 7 says 13 to 16,000 for the survey, and then 2 to 4 for monthly. So if we take 16,000 and 4,000 of the monthly times 5 months, that's 20,000. That's like 36,000 there. Where does the 50 come from?
We wanted that to just be like an upper ceiling.
Okay.
We would be happy spending a lot less than that.
Okay.
But I thought that it would be more appropriate to set a ceiling and say, this is.
Okay.
This is much.
I just wondered where that number came from. Okay. Thank you.
So, yeah, I know. There's also, because the vote was so close, 5-4, those of us who voted for impact, the 4, were given an opportunity to provide a dissenting opinion. Now, just to be clear, I mean, the decision that I made to vote for impact was razor thin. But I do think there are some differences. And to your question about the costs, I believe if you look at their proposal, they mentioned during the meeting that they would do other types of research other than the poll, like examine voting behaviors and patterns. And they didn't really classify whether that would be an additional cost or not. So I think that was one of the reasons we wanted to put a little extra money in there. You have in front of you the dissenting opinion that I drafted, and I'll just go over a couple of the points. And I do think that impact, some of the differences are that impact has worked with municipalities, whereas Triad has not. And they have passed income tax levies. Now, if that's a big difference, I don't know. Impact was more, as Ron said, more marketing driven. The Triad was much more data driven, much more scientific in their approach.
I guess one thing I would say, oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were
I
done.
was looking over my points. I've already
Yeah.
made most of them. The only other point I would make in favor of impact is that they had a more defined cost.
Like fee
It was
structure.
it was $2,000 to $4,000 per month, plus these extra fees for Triad. Impact would just be $6,000 a month, period. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to conduct polls and do some of the other things Triad did. It's always a council decision. I have no problems with either one of these. And like I said, my vote for impact was just because they had more experience with municipalities and income tax levies. Whether that's a real difference, I don't know.
Rob,
So-
with
Yes.
that being said, sorry, Amy, Impact was the only one that has worked on income tax levies.
True. But is there a difference, like how you market that and how you judge voter behavior? I don't know. It could be.
So my question is, Triad used the success rate based on the zoo, which people usually always vote for animals. The MRDD passing, they did,
Not so much anymore, don't,
well, they do pass quite a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen in, a lot of the comparisons that they're using, I'm not sure that that really justifies.
I agree.
And the other thing is, I do know from a political view, Triad is always known for their political campaigns, is what I've known them as, and they've been very pricey for that reason. A lot of people that have used them, I don't know about the success rate, but I do know they are known to be the most expensive agency to use. I know Carmen had a question back there, if that's okay.
Yeah, just a couple of the distinctions. The focus seemed to be for Triad, as Ron said, that May would be a better opportunity. They thought that there'd be more challenges with possible property tax elimination, all these other kinds of things that might create some noise. Whereas Impact thought the November would be a better option because they'd have more time to roll out their marketing plan. So, but both of them demonstrated 100% success rates. They may not have passed their levies on the first try, but neither one of them could point to anything that they failed at. And I think the big takeaway, and then, I'm sorry, Carmen, I didn't want to take up your time, but is that, like Ron, I came to the conclusion after listening to these presentations that I'm not sure how we could not do this. You know what I mean? Like, not hiring a marketing firm with the success rates they've had seems like a big risk to me.
So, I actually have direct experience with Triad, with political campaigns, as you mentioned. And here's the thing. What are you getting for that money? What is marketing spend? Because when you pay for their package, if you want anything like a mailer, that was more like an à la carte service, which was very expensive. Now, I'll never take away from their ability. And they have amazing graphic designers, and they put together a great messaging package, but you are going to pay an extremely premium price. But here's the thing, how are you gonna reach the voters? So was the question asked, like, what exactly are we getting for this? What do they mean by marketing? Because if it doesn't include any type of anything in any print media that goes into a newspaper or to people's homes, then what exactly are you getting?
Or are you just paying for the design of the
Right. Because my experience is that if you want mailers, or if you want anything as any type of ad, that is gonna be added additional onto the service. So maybe initially it looks attractive to have something that looks a little, could be cheaper month by month than the impact group, which I don't have any familiarity with them. You could spend a lot more with Triad if you're gonna add those things. If you're doing something like this, I don't even know how you could possibly run a campaign without putting things in people's mailboxes. So what is that gonna cost? And was that discussed?
On their, the application packet that they had given us, there is a page here where they've got the service that they offer, design, marketing, and digital. Under marketing, they offer media placement, digital marketing, advanced targeting, SEM/pay-per-click, and I have no idea what that is.
Digital
Social media
advertising.
advertising, media metrics reporting, public relations, and crisis communications. I would go back to the social media advertising and remembering what the Ravenna schools did when they were able to successfully pass their levy. I'm sure mailers had something to do with it for sure, but I think a lot of the impact was by social media. People care about who they see on TikTok and Facebook. They don't really care about a piece of cardboard in the mail, but they need that. They need both.
I think we could follow up perhaps with Triad to see the $2,000 to $4,000, and by the way, the range always gets me a little unnerved. What does that include? All it says in their proposal is campaign strategy and management. Does that include mailers or is that extra? I don't know. And maybe we need to find that out to see if there are hidden costs that we didn't plan for.
Yeah.
I guess you're right.
To be fair.
Compare it to, we might hear from Impact Group and they might say, no, that was all included. It might be something worth considering, since it was so close. I think that's probably.
Yeah, maybe, but to me, it would be clarification. I got the impression Impact included all that stuff. Because they didn't mention anything about any other kind of additional costs.
I'd like to just chime in a little bit on this. I did review both of the requests for qualifications of both groups, and just like the committee, it appeared that they were pretty close in their abilities to provide this service. I personally would be fine to move forward with Triad. It's the recommendation of the committee who looked at this, heard the presentations, and either one that we go with, it's going to be expensive paying for this printing. If we do print media, it's going to be expensive. So I do worry a little bit about the timing of it, we've put ourselves kind of where we're backs against the wall. This is December 8th already, and if we have a campaign, the campaign's got to get moving fast, and January to May is nothing, and they've got to do the survey and work on the campaign. So I would be willing to support the recommendation of the committee that looked at this with their 5-4 vote and move with Triad.
She is.
Carmen, someone asked from the videos that are watching live if you could talk on the mic. They couldn't hear you talking, so that's okay.
I was generally asking a question about what came with that 2,000 to 4,000, which it sounds like you had some details. It sounds like it's social media engagement, those social media engagement metrics, which is not putting things in people's mailboxes, is not going to include those. I'm sorry, I mean, I understand that doesn't win elections, but it's definitely a component, and it can be very costly to do something like that. And if a mailer was already included with the other aspect and with the image company or Impact, is that what it's called? Maybe that would be more advantageous. Who was on this committee again?
There was
So you had the-
multiple people throughout the city.
How many
So-
of them have actually run in an election and know what you have to do to market in an election? So, Mr. Karas, I know that you have.
There was some.
I've never engaged the
folks,
marketing group.
Never
but
had
the
to.
reason we are choosing the marketing group is because we have it. So, because we don't have this experience and we don't just want to go, great, let's put an income tax levy on the ballot and help.
Well, what I'm getting at more specifically is that the recommendation is largely coming from a group of people that didn't have to make these decisions and maybe didn't know what questions to ask, is what I'm trying to really say here. So that's a $50,000. Let me just tell you, in a mayoral campaign in Streetsboro, we paid them $30,000, and that was for a much larger city. But I'm just saying that everything that was added on was a mailer, was added an enormous expense onto things. And I do think it is important. My other question is, I think this is important to know. So let's say we have the 22nd is when we have the public hearing.
Yes.
So what is the timeline about getting this on the May ballot? Because those deadlines are coming up here pretty soon. Do we have enough time to move this from a public hearing to 3 reads to get this to the Board of Elections in time to even have this on the May ballot?
Yeah, we've done the math and the timeline, and the only missing piece legislatively is what Ms. Lawrence is working on, which is part of this will require changes to our code because we'll be adding some taxes. Once we put that together, we'll have the availability on a 3rd reading to vote on this in January. I can't remember, it's January 5th or something like that is our month. And of course, we wouldn't be able to vote on this, the marketing piece, until we vote on that. It could be the same night. But we also don't want to have a public hearing and then vote right after the public. That doesn't always
No,
look
I
good.
just wanted to make sure the timeline, because it's
Yeah.
a moot point if there's not even
Right.
going to be enough
Right.
time for
We'll have
for the
time
different
because it's the
reads.
deadline to get something over to the Board of Elections. And we called the Board of Elections, is in February,
Yeah,
right.
early February. So we should have almost a month
We're working
to put it all
to
together.
get that together, to get to the board in time.
And I agree with Carmen. I don't think, we're not trying, I mean, the committee worked super hard. I only was able to attend one meeting due to my schedule with my other job, but I don't know that the committee maybe knew about Triad, where now you are bringing it to light, and there are people that do have some information more about Triad, and I think it's only helpful that it's being shared,
As a member of this committee, what is your thoughts? What would you like to see happen?
I would like to get more information personally because it was so close, and I do. I'd like to know what the cost is included. Like Rob said, the other.
I think there was a range.
Yeah, that there was a range, and Triad is known to be one of the most expensive marketing firms out there.
Are you okay with moving the decision?
I'm
to
okay
move
moving.
this forward to committee of the whole, and
Yeah,
then we can get that
absolutely.
information? Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to hold the process up
Okay,
because I know
that's-
how long everybody, but again, there's other questions that I think that needed to be answered, so.
For sure.
I would expect to have an answer tomorrow by noon, since I believe the fellows are watching,
Okay, great.
and they'll have something in my inbox tomorrow morning. Gotta love YouTube.
Yeah.
Paul, did you have something to add?
Yes, I did. And I believe something that goes in the mail is very important. The other thing I have to say that I'm disagreeing with, that there's 5 months, because you get into, in this case, part of April, and I'm not going to say percentages because I don't know, but there's several people that do vote early for a varied amount of reasons. So I'm decreasing that 5 months down to, I don't know when they would be, whichever would be started, say 3.5 months, because by that time, you're getting close to early voting, maybe a little bit more than 3.5. And then, okay, I've seen this in a lot of situations over the years, what Carmen commented, that a lot of people, whether they're purchasing something physical or otherwise, a lot of times they don't ask enough questions that are pertinent to, a lot of times it's when I'm referring to pertaining to what type of quality are we getting? So if they don't know the questions to ask, they will not receive the proper information to make the right decision for what might be purchased, if they don't know already.
And we recognize, regardless of whichever one we go with, this is going to be a really tough battle. I mean, with the climate that we're in right now, passing a levy is really difficult. So any help that we can get with informing our community on the needs that we have and what needs to be done to better serve our community is going to be super important, so.
And just a final note, though, we're not making the May ballot the end. I mean, most levies that we've passed through the city have taken more than one try.
Correct.
So, and we've already committed, and the committee and even council has talked about this, that if it doesn't pass in May, we're going to still keep the engine running until November. So I get your point about the May, and that's true. And that's one of the things that Impact had concerns about, was the shortened time. And they might have even mentioned early voting, too.
Yeah. The only question I have that hopefully if they can hear, they can answer when they get a chance to email us, would be like, what methodologies do they plan on surveying people? The classic like Dewey survey where they only had phones to call people, only wealthy people had phones back then, so they thought that, the election was going the other way. So in terms of if you're trying to reach out to Ravenna residents, to Paul's point about not everyone is, using technology, or not, they're probably not even going to be available for that, like pay-per-click for us to get a message out their way if they're not using it.
Sure.
So, and even at the Historical Society, we had a lot of people like, I don't want to get an email, what can you send me? So we lean towards newsletters then too. But I think we want to make sure that we have a very widespread approach for, one, how are we assessing the community's view of its own priorities for what people want individually, and are we actually getting to everyone that's going to be part of that electorate?
Right. Right.
One of the items is they need to understand our system and our capabilities that we currently have via water bill, internet, website, that sort of thing.
All of our messaging platforms.
All of that. They have to learn and understand how user-friendly it is for us, for them to educate us on how to use it. But Rob mentioned another very important component to this is the absentee ballots. We have to be on board and ready and get this information out very quickly. So we only have until about March.
Yes.
It's not a very long
Right.
time frame if we want a higher success rate in May. So the committee talked about trying to move this forward on a fast track. So mid-January, we can meet with the consulting firm on the ground and start running with it quickly, abruptly.
Well, at this point, the committee's agreed to move it forward to committee of the whole, so with,
We'll get an
you know,
answer then.
with getting that additional information, so hopefully that'll be helpful. All right? Bob, you ready? Because you're next, the next item too. So I have to enter a contract with GPT Group to perform a safety study and analysis. So do you want to kind of,
Yes. We made improvements somewhere 2012, 13 to this intersection. And every 3 years, AMATS puts out the ranking for severity index of intersections reported in Summit County. At one point, our intersection was very high on the list, which is alarming. We made improvements. We installed the dilemma zone, as it's called. At one point, we were, instead of in the top 5, we were at 147th or something like that. And for some reason, we have slowly creeped back up to number 3, which is very alarming. When I look at the crash data, it doesn't seem that it's increased tremendously, but it has for whatever reason, and I don't understand why. 14 and 44 is number 1 on that list. That's ODOT's intersection, and I spoke to them. They are studying it. They're obviously, evidently going to make some kind of a change or something. So I reached out to Judy Bennett from GPD, who's a local resident that's done other studies for us, and her proposal is attached.
She gave a presentation not too long
She
ago.
did, yes, she
on
did.
the,
School, on the school aid.
yeah. She did the study.
Well, I'm confused. If the state's going to take care of this, why are
No,
we?
they're going to take care of 14 and
the other.
44.
Oh,
This
44?
is 14 and 88.
Oh,
This is another high area that is,
So that's Infirmary Road.
Oh, you want a roundabout, is that what you're
A
saying?
roundabout, no, we don't want a roundabout. I'm saying
Putting one in.
there's plans to install a roundabout at Infirmary and 14.
Okay.
And it's a very, very large roundabout, high-speed roundabout. It'll be very interesting.
Most
how are you going to get
roundabouts end up
semis
high-speed.
around that?
They can go straight through for the most part.
Yeah,
You don't
usually there's a
realize
small
that.
raised
Get out of
platform
the
in the
way.
They
center.
don't, but they
Dis-
could if they had to.
Dissuades normal drivers, but a commercial vehicle can get up along the center a little bit more easily, typically.
Wow.
Especially
The
pulling
study
doubles.
would be, in essence, a two-part. The first part would be what can be done potentially, and the second would be a full study that we could apply for grants through highway safety funds.
Good. I know I've had residents reach out to me about 14 and 88 on several occasions for their fear of traveling that way to get home, who lives on Main Street, and they also live on the Freedom in the east side of town and have had to go around the long way because several times they've almost been taken out. So thank you.
Do you have any questions on this?
I'm all for the study. I drive through that area frequently. People are going really fast on the main street, and when that light changes, I may stop, I may not. You know, it goes through, people go through that a lot. I think they view Freedom as kind of a smaller side street and think with their speed they can go through. It is a dangerous intersection, so I think it's a great idea to study it.
Amy, you're good?
Absolutely, get it done.
So we're good with moving this forward?
Yes.
Tammy, you're next on my agenda.
What's the
The
first?
establish a Board of Tax Review, Chapter 881.21.
Yes, this is a board that has not been established, or if it was so many years ago that we do not know who the board members are. It is two members have to be nominated, appointed by legislation. So, and this is basically going to cover anybody that has an assessment from RITA after, say, 3 years. There could be a denial of their tax refund. The state statute says after 3 years, something like that is not something that they're going to deal with. They send a denial letter, and then we are supposed to have a Board of Tax Review to handle those kinds of situations. So it's going to come up very rarely, but this is something we have to think about doing to establish this board.
And then you said the council has to appoint 2 and then,
And then the mayor will have to appoint 1.
okay.
Now, there's a lot of, and I didn't read it again, I know we went back and forth, that it can't be an employee, I cannot sit on the board.
I think there's a difference. I think the legislative body appoints 2, but they can't be elected officials and they can't be employees of the city. So they can be pretty much anybody else. The mayor can appoint an employee as long as they're not
that-
working in the finance department.
It just can't be somebody from finance.
And just for clarity, we actually, the board has been established. We have code that says this board exists.
Oh,
We just
yes,
need
it
to,
is-
we just
it's in
need
the
to
code,
appoint
yes.
people to it.
But right now, we don't know who those people were.
Yeah.
It's just been so long since
Yes.
we've had to utilize it. Okay.
And we may not have ever utilized it. Nobody can tell me that there was any history behind ever having the review. But currently, a couple things have come up that we do need to have the board established.
Amy, you guys good?
If it's already in an ordinance that we have established the board, what is this action that we're doing, talking about doing tonight?
Legislative
Appointing
action
them?
To appoint, yes, to come up with 2
Council needs
people
to appoint 2 members.
But is this action we want to appoint? We're ready to do that now?
Well,
I
I
d-
don't
We
know
have
if
names.
anybody
I
has.
have one person, if
Oh,
that
okay.
matters.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
okay, so I just wanted to
We'll have
make
to-
clear what we were doing.
we'll have to
with this.
vote eventually on appointing 2 people,
Okay.
or council will have to do. It's
I have one, if you want me to say, I'm happy to. No?
up to you. I don't know if there's-
Peter Martin, he's here. He's been wanting to get involved. He's got a
okay.
background. He's one that I'd like to recommend.
All right. And I suggest anybody who wants to recommend somebody, talk to the people before you.
Yeah, please do.
So if you're interested, Peter, afterwards, talk with Tammy.
Yeah, please.
So are we okay then with moving this on to committee of the whole? Yes, yes?
Yes.
Yes, okay. The next item is the 2026 temporary budget.
I put a copy in your box. This is basically the same budget that we passed back in June at the tax budget, and this will be the temporary budget effective January 1st, 2026. This is basically a housekeeping item that has to be passed for state audit requirements. I think we will pass this hopefully on, because it has to be passed before the end of the year on the 22nd. we can.
29th, you mean?
If we have, either depending on if we have enough people for the meeting on the 29th.
We ever determined that? Okay, we'll give it some more time. We have,
Okay.
if we have to, we'll set up a special meeting on the 22nd. Right now, we have a special meeting just for public comment on the safety buildings and City Hall. If we find out not enough people can make that end-of-year meeting, then we'll add these final finance items to that special meeting. But if not, I mean, I think traditionally we've always held that meeting, right?
Yes, yeah, we have.
It's not mandated that I can see, but it's kind of a tradition,
We have, yeah, typically always had it.
yeah. It also opens the door in case something else comes up before the end of the year that we could squeeze it in.
Yeah, typically it was a finance meeting, but there's always something else, I feel like, that does need approved.
Yeah. All right. And the next item is the year-end accounting true-up.
This is another year-end one that I need to send to the county. I do not have the figures yet. We are busy closing POs and truing up budgets, and I'll have this ready by the 22nd or before the 22nd or the 29th, depending on when that meeting can be had.
All right, good? Yes. And then accept the distribution of income and taxes for 2026.
And again, this is another housekeeping item, one that has to be passed as a state audit requirement. We have not changed anything. It shows the attachment shows the 2026 income tax distribution for the city.
So we'll have that for the next two. Okay. All right. Any questions? All right, then I'm going to end the planning committee at 7:04 PM.
I think am I next?
Yep, you're next.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, it is 7:05, and I'm going to start public health and safety. One of my items is going to end up being tabled. We're going to have further discussion on, so I'm not going to end up talking too much at committee about it. First item is ordinance for dispatch services. It's, we got back contracts from Charleston and Edinburgh, and we want to go ahead and move those forward to sign. We're very happy to get the response back from both. We're happy to serve them. And if it's okay with Tyler and Matt, I'd like to go ahead and move that forward.
Good to move it forward.
Okay, that being said, we're going to go ahead and move that forward. Next item is funding to expand the cold storage building, and that would be from Chief Chappell? Yeah. Thank you.
So, as council is aware, both the police department and fire department are suffering for space. We currently have our reserve station down in the cold storage building off of Spruce Street. So, in the event we have multiple calls and whatnot, we actually have to go down there to get our second engine to respond, because we don't have the facility to house the equipment that we have, along with other items that are inside our department. Since we have our stuff down at the cold storage building, it also eliminates a lot of room for the police department for their evidence collecting. So we're kind of keep battling for space. I don't know if you guys know what I'm pertaining to with this cold storage. So if you've been down through Spruce Street, you have the motor pool that is basically on the left side as you enter in the driveway, and then the cold storage is the building that is long-wise, that is parallel with Spruce and Miller. What we want to do, or what we propose to do, and I brought Bob in on this to see, at the end of the building currently, there's an additional 30-plus feet that we could go out and 60 feet back, which would give us 1,800 additional square feet of storage. We could put 2 overhead door garages through there, have an apparatus so it's drive-throughs that we can get through. We can put all of our mechanical equipment where Captain Hall does oil changes, PMs to all the apparatus, have floor drains and whatnot. When we're done utilizing it, when our new station is built, we can actually have more space for Jake to take over the space that we're currently in the cold storage that we're depriving him of currently. We actually have more room for whenever, we never have enough room, so what I'm getting at. So looking at it, cost-wise, we were kind of saying, I was just throwing numbers, we can do it for, we were thinking somewhere around
$100,000.
we could add the pavement, actually cut down the dirt, because the ladder truck that we have that we want to put in there, that we currently have, the height-wise, puts us right at the
12-foot.
12-foot, which is the same capacity currently. So we'd actually have to kind of put the driveway down into it to allow the space for it. That would be heat, water, drainage, insulating it. I think we would be pretty safe, and we were having an architect, Sean was going to draw some stuff up
I'm going to probably reach out to another architect since he's busy.
to see how feasible it is. But in my opinion, it's money well spent. The city already owns the building. We're always going to need the building. We're always going to need more space in the building. So it's not money that we're throwing away to piecemeal us together for the next couple, 3 years until a station's built. To me, it makes sense. I hope it makes sense to you guys.
Well, I'll just comment, it makes complete sense to myself. I've been on those grounds for several years in the past, and I can still picture exactly what you're explaining by that building going parallel. That it's it's a win-win situation there at this time.
Procedurally, isn't this a little bit backwards? Shouldn't this be to solicit bids, and then you do the funding later? Authorize the mayor to solicit
Well,
bids?
No.
the intent is just to get
Council's a,
council's
Right.
buy-in and,
he just wants, before they solicit bids, they want to know what
Whether we
our
wanna
thoughts
do it or
are.
Well, but voting to allow the mayor to solicit bids kind of does that, doesn't it? Because it seems to me in the past, once bids have been awarded, then we allocate the funding, don't?
right, well, the first thing is we have to have a design drawn up, and then we would solicit bids.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, they're not going to
Oh,
do
okay.
all that and have
Okay.
council say, no, we're not going to do it. I
but do you
mean,
have a figure for that?
I don't have a number yet. Hopefully in 2 weeks, we'll have a number.
All right,
I will have a number in 2 weeks.
okay, cool.
We're optimistic that we should be able to tie into the same roof line that is already there. And then just extend it out, because we measured the truss, we're roughly 30 feet. So actually, the way that the beams are going across, it almost worked out perfectly. I'm not an architect, but looking at it with an engineer, we're like, this is probably pretty feasible, the most cost-efficient way of doing it. So, let's see what the architect has to say.
Matt and Tyler, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, we've known their space has been
Limited.
at a premium for quite some time. I would be on board with moving this forward for additional space for those groups.
Yeah, same, space is useful, no matter what department needs it.
I am too. Okay, we'll go ahead and move that forward. Next item I have is the ambulance billing. This item we're going to table, we're not going to talk about tonight. We need to have a meeting more with the administration before we do any more further discussion on this, and then we'll bring it back, okay? Next item is the opioid fund guidelines. We did meet last week. We have a little bit more of a game plan. Tammy has submitted stuff to our law director. We came up with two different ideas that we want to go through and have the law director look at. We looked at everything that is required by us to match with what we have to do. We talked about how to be fair, what to look at as far as if people, nonprofits submitted, giving a timeline, you know, where we'd publicly announce it, and then we would have a group of us that would overlook it, and then the mayor decide, and, you know, maybe take an amount of money that we have each quarter for different smaller nonprofits, seeing what comes forward. Also, maybe finding a way to use it to help address some of the situations that we're seeing in our downtown that has problems with opioid users, and ways to be creative to help in our downtown area. So we're looking at that. And once we have more information from our law director, I will bring it back to committee. But we are, just to let everyone know, we're moving along with that. And we have some real good input on that, okay? And any management update? Okay, I will end my meeting today at 7:15.
At 7:15, I will bring the Community and Economic Development Committee to order. And the item on the agenda is the Design Review Commission guidelines. Again, we have been dealing with this for a very, very long time. There was one item of somewhat contention the last time we brought it forward. And Rob has actually worked diligently on the verbiage to update it.
Along with Mr. Salini, yes.
Correct, with Larry. So that is from the last time we looked at it, that is the only changes that have been made. And so if everybody's had a chance to look at that verbiage,
And make sure you're looking at what I sent today. I think what was in the packet was the old code, so it still had that one component in it. Oh, okay. Thank you.
I guess I have a question about exactly what we're talking about, whether it's 143403 or 143404, Design Review Commission, or the section on certificates of approval. During our last month's meeting, we were looking at the changes in 143404, certificates of
Correct.
approval.
Number
and-
3.
And that was the one that there were some concerns about. But what we have tonight that we're looking at is 1434.03. There's a difference between them, and I'm not sure which one we're talking about moving forward.
I think we're talking about moving the entire chapter forward. Well,
Tim, the questions that you're asking, they were actually the 143404 certificates of approval. And when you go down, it's on the second page, number 3, the appeal to be made to council. That was that was the biggest.
yeah, the only significant change, other than the removal of the 3 meetings and you get automatic approval, was the elimination of the requirement of a 3rd meeting.
Correct.
That appeals to council could be made after the Design Review Commission reviewed the item twice instead of 3 times. I mean, one of the concerns, and I don't know, is Bob here? He might want to speak to this, but one of the concerns that has been permeating, at least the perception, is that people are not getting their permits in a timely manner. And whether or not it's because the Design Review Commission has not performed its functions in a timely manner or some other reason, or the perception is that they're not, this addresses that problem and kind of speeds up the timetable by eliminating the requirement of that 3rd meeting.
I understand that. I also believe that last month, when we talked about it, one of the things that we discussed was we wanted it to go back to design review so that they could look at it before we
It was
approve.
offered.
Excuse me, I just want to finish what I was saying, okay? That they were going to look at it before we moved on it. Unfortunately, they didn't during this meeting, their last meeting. I believe that they could still look at it in a future meeting, and I share Mr. Finney's concern that it's something that we should have that commission look at, since these are some rules that are going to be affecting them.
Rob, as the chair of this committee, and yes, I do understand them wanting to look at it, and it was offered to them, and they chose not to look at it and review it at their meeting. But also, according to Bob's email, they are meeting Thursday at 10 a.m. So if the committee moves this forward, we should have, or I should say, we shall have the DRC's comments before the 22nd meeting.
Agree.
So I don't think there's a reason to continue to hold this up. I think we just need to get it done, get their decision, put them on the line. They have a meeting Thursday. There's no reason that they can't review it on Thursday and send us their comments.
Yeah, last month, I did exercise my right to vote, the only time I ever have done that. But in the meantime, working with Mr. Salinius, I think, to my satisfaction, the difficulties that were presented back then were alleviated. I think we've addressed the overall concern that people have had with not getting things approved in a timely manner. And I do believe, although the Design Review Commission may not have had its full membership at the last meeting, that they will have the opportunity, and I should hope that they would use the opportunity of the meeting this week to discuss these changes, because I think their input is valuable, but I'm not going to vote on this tonight. So.
Amy, what's your?
I vote to move it forward.
I do as well. Tim?
I know how to count votes, so I'm
wanted
okay
to
I'm okay moving it forward.
And with that, we will end the meeting at 7:20.
At 7:20, we'll call the Streets and Sidewalks Committee meeting to order. One item on the agenda this evening was brought to our attention. There were some concerns about street parking on Meridian Street near the administration building. So we've kind of did a little research, watched things go for about a month. And I think the proposal for this committee to move forward at this time would be to limit parking on both South Meridian and South Chestnut, which both run parallel on each side of the administration building. Currently, there are no regulations for parking there. So we would look at making it no parking from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. The administration building is open from 8 a.m. to 4:30. And the BMV, which is also on South Meridian, is open till 5 p.m. So at this point, with the concerns of the amount of traffic on those two roads with the administration building and the BMV, with other vehicles parking along those roads, creating some hazardous situations, we think it would be appropriate to limit parking during those times.
Are you going to make it to one-sided parking only, or are you going to open it up for both sides of the street?
This would be no parking both sides from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
But when there is parking when they are able to park, I still think it only should be on one side. It should not be on both sides, because these streets are narrow, and we are opening up these streets to obstacle courses when we start allowing parking on both sides of the street. I think it's a bad look on our streets, and I think a lot of these frequently traveled streets, they should not have parking on both sides of the street. It should be one side. So if you're going to do this, I would do it both at the same time. That's just my suggestion.
Are you talking, I know this isn't my committee, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to.
It's not my
grasp-
committee either,
You
but
can have your input.
Are you talking for Chestnut going all the way?
Like, to the end of our municipality of Chestnut?
We are
No, we're
looking
talking
Or
South
just like a set-
Chestnut,
south, like a
Riddle to
section of
Harris.
it? Okay, I don't think.
Oh,
Riddle
okay.
to
West
Harris.
Riddle
To Hazen.
So like up by
West
the
Harris.
courthouse, it's going to be okay.
Courthouse.
Okay.
My mind goes handicap
yeah,
accessible
'cause-
parking, courthouse, that's
Yeah,
where I
when you
was
said
going.
South Meridian,
Okay.
South, by the license.
there
south of Riddle.
there are parking spaces like a Meridian right off of Main Street, and I know there are some businesses there.
You said
There are
Harris
also
to-
some on-street parking by the administration
Right,
building
no, I'm-
on South Meridian.
Yeah.
But
And
they're
those spots
15.
are limited to 15 minutes.
Yeah, no, I was worried that you were including all the way
No.
up to Main Street, that's
No,
all.
we're looking at just the
Harris to
block
Riddle.
South of
Yeah.
West
of the
Riddle.
administration
Yeah, that
building,
makes
from
sense.
West Terrace on the south end of the administration building to West Riddle on the north end of the administration building.
That makes sense, Matt. Thank you for clarifying, I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Do we have an idea on what the volume of cars that were parked on the side of the street are? Because those cars are gonna go somewhere. Like, we don't know if they were just like people visiting residences or living there, or if it was going to impact.
It's
like,
pretty
was the
busy
parking
during
lot
the
full?
day where it's not in the rest of the, like in the evening hours and stuff, but the street parking down there is pretty heavy during the day. So,
And
and there are driveways down there.
I was going to say the length of the driveways where those vehicles have been parked on the street are lengthy, and there's enough room there for
Yeah.
the most part, 4 or 5 vehicles.
But when you make it, what I'm saying is when you make it available where people can park, only make it one side of the road. Do not make it so both sides of the road people can park. Because you're just making into it, it gets too congested, and these roads are not wide enough It's starting to become a safety concern in a lot of areas.
And if we're going to be in there making adjustments, why not?
Yeah,
Well, I agree. That might be something we need to almost take a look at citywide. I don't think we limit it just to these two
Oh, no.
streets at
No,
this time.
because
So I
it-
don't want to bundle that in with what we're trying to accomplish here by the administration building right now. But I think it's something that we look at, we can look at.
so I would disagree. That's just my opinion. I would do, if you're going to do one on that street, I would do it the same time because they're going to start parking on both sides of the road and then it's going to come back and it's going to be, if you're dealing with one street, do it all on that same
What's
street.
the current restrictions on those two streets, Matt?
There are currently no restrictions as far as no parking on either one of those streets, with the exception of the spots by the administration building. It's a
After the
15-minute time limit.
Chief Chapman has something to say.
Tell you on the fire side of it, we have calls for ambulances and fire trucks. When we go down there, we have cars, they don't care about the emergency lights.
Right.
They
No.
rip right past us. You open a side door to get out of the squad, you're taking your life in your own hand, trying to provide services to somebody else's life who don't need it to. It can get pretty sketchy. And, I mean, we're very conscientious of it, but it just takes one time. And someone's hopping out of the back of the squad to get into the front seat of the squad. And, it'll happen, it can happen. It's, probably 20 years ago, it has happened to a fire truck. One of our doors got taken off.
Hey, Matt, do we have to have a public hearing for this?
We will have a public hearing for this, and it will go 3 readings.
Okay.
Yeah, with the amount of vehicles in the city now, I agree. We need to look at some other issues. It's not just a street-by-street case. I think at this point, it may be more of a citywide thing that we need to take a look at.
Because I-
And if we need to do some type of study or something, maybe we can look at that as well at some point. We're not all traffic people, but for right now, for this particular issue, we feel this would be the best route to go to keep the residents. Because we have a lot of people from out of town also that come in and utilize our administration building that may not be have knowledge of our laws and regulations. So I think we need to post this and keep it safe.
I think when it does, I agree with reducing the flow for it, because we do have a lot of people from out of town. They may not know local traffic patterns, and for emergency services and things, being able to safely get people in and out of those things, equally important. But for, when it comes to the systemic improvements of things, I think it would be wise to kind of look at like what is the flow rate of traffic, if we have an idea on like how many commercial vehicles, like kind of looking at more traffic data for it, to get an understanding of like how much is going through an area versus more residential or parking kind of things. So, and then we also don't want to disenfranchise property owners that the only place they have to park is street side parking with a permit with the fee per year, when, you know, if they just have 2 vehicles in a inconveniently parceled parcel.
I'm okay with moving this forward, Matt.
Paul,
Yeah, something had to be done.
you okay with
Yes.
moving that
Yes,
forward?
yes.
All right, that's all we had on our agenda. Management update? Nothing. Okay. At 7:28, I will adjourn the Streets and Sidewalks Committee meeting.
I believe